Hi everyone. Okay, we have no people in the house yet. I know it is a midday and everybody's at work. This is Shamela. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be doing the photo folio. This is my contribution to South African National Scrapbook Day 2023. Unfortunately, I know this live was scheduled for 8 p.m. this evening, but I have got load shedding. And if you are not in South Africa and you're unaware of what load shedding is, it is where the national grid does not have enough power to supply the entire country. With the result, we have to take turns and be without power. There are different stages, and currently we are on stage 6, I think, which is, I must say, bloody ridiculous. It's ridiculous because I think we without power between 4 and 6 hours every day. I speak under correction because I kind of just lost track of how many hours. I'm just dealing with it as the day goes by. So let me just show you while we're waiting for people to join. I'm going to flip my camera, put it in the holder, and show you what we will be doing today. So give me a seckie. Right. Just give me 1 second to adjust everything. Right. Okay. I wonder if I need to move it a bit up. Just give me 1 minute. Just move it down. This is always the tricky part, to make sure we have the whole desk in view. So bear with me. Right. I think that is going to be it for us today. So I'm going to be working in craft card today because my sample I've done in black, but I think that the black is sometimes a little bit difficult to see on a live. And the paper range I used is from Stamperia. It is called Savannah. I used a mixture of the backgrounds as well as the main paper pack, and so this is the background selection. It is SBBL 109. Let me see if I still have the cover of the main paper. I doubt if I have it because I cut it up. So I have cut up the main page. But it is available in South Africa. We have stock of it here. So if you've done a Kruger National Park safari, any of those wildlife tours or trips, this is the perfect range. I think when they designed the Savannah range, it just spoke to all South Africans. So let me show you what our little folio looks like. I also used part of the die cuts just to add some interest to my cover. It's a very simple construction, well, I think it is, and you can get quite a reasonable amount of photographs in here. So it's got an elastic band that is the closure, but you can use a magnet, you can use a ribbon, you can use anything as your closure. This was something new to me, so I tried it out, and I'm glad to say that it actually worked out. So yeah, the closure is entirely up to you. So we've got a little opening page there, and this is your cover. Now the reason why I've got all these score lines here is so that this can actually grow as you fill your folio with photographs or ephemera or little bits and pieces from your holiday. Now when you open it up, you have a page here, and what I've done is I have actually cut into the paper here just so that I can slot maybe a photo booklet or something in there. That's entirely up to you. But I like doing that for the simple reason that you don't need to cover your beautiful paper. I have a real hard time covering my paper, I must be honest. So this flaps open to the side. And then here we've got a little closure, and that's magnetized. So this is also one of the elements from the Savannah paper pack, and I just cut around it and I backed it onto some card, firstly to hide the magnets, and secondly just to give it some extra weight so that it doesn't break and tear with use, because that's something that you're going to open and close all the time. Then we've got a flap that goes, let's start with the one going up. So there's a flap that goes up, and as you can see here, I've used a single sheet of the paper to make sure that the pattern continues. So underneath is nothing. This is a perfect spot for you to put a smaller photograph. And so we've got a layer there. If you want to go to town, people, you can add another layer that goes up, etc. I feel that we have a bit of time constraints for this live, so I kept it simple. So let me close that and see if I can bring the other piece into shot. I'm going to have to go sideways because my desk isn't big enough. So we've got the same thing on this side. Okay. And then let's just do this. And then inside here, if you watched the video on the NSD 2023 page, you would have seen I showed you guys how to do this inner piece where you have all these little flaps inside. So that's my one, and it's not complete yet, but this is where you can actually just have fun and do whatever you want to do on here. This is where you can have a blast basically. And then at the bottom here, this is our base page. In hindsight, I figured instead of making those knots, I could have just scrunched up the elastic inside the little eyelet that I have there. But so you can do that if you decide to go that route as a closure. And then on the other side, we've got another flap going here. There's an envelope attached to this one. So that's just an envelope. And then I have cut into the paper here because I like to do that. This is very optional for the simple reason that I wanted to add something inside there, and I basically just joined two tags. Here you can actually create a long concertina of tags and use it like that. And then on the opposite side, we have got a pocket. So you can slide photographs in here, matted photos, which would be nice. And then I also cut into the paper. This was a page that had lots of stripes. Sorry, oh gosh, why is this happening? My apologies. It feels like my lights are causing an issue today. Let me just see if I can raise the light and just try and balance it again. Sorry about that. Shafiq, I need a hand if you're watching. I need something to put on the back to keep it up. For some reason or other, it's giving me some grief today. My apologies. Okay, so like I was saying, I've got to hold it now till I get help. Oh dear, the blessings of alive, the blessings of alive. So what I've done here is I have cut into the paper simply because it's got a whole lot of stripes and shapes and stuff. So you know what, when that happens, I always think, maybe I can cut into the paper. It doesn't look like my husband is watching, so he can't come and help me. I'm just going to give him a shout quickly. Just give me 1 second. Shafiq! Hendricks! What happened to this man? He's a... Sorry, guys. I don't know what's happening today. This thing is just lopsided. Can you put something heavy on the back so that it doesn't come forward? Anything. I don't know why it's never happened before. Okay. We are sorted. Thank you, Mr. Hendricks. Mr. Hendricks to the rescue as always. Don't know what I'll do without him. So that is the basic essence of what we shall be doing today. I apologize for the break in interruption there. So without further ado, before my entire project caves in here, let's get started. So like I said, I'm going to be working on craft card, and I have not prepared anything because I'm going to start it from scratch with you guys, so you can follow along, or you can watch the video afterwards and pause it as you go along. Let me find my notes. What I also have is my packet of offcuts, and if we have time before my load shedding kicks in, we may be able to add the pattern paper. But this is how I keep my leftovers, because if I do another project, before I cut into a page, I always first check what offcuts I have. I never willingly cut into a new fresh sheet of card. That is me. I am going to be using the Stamperia dye ink pad, the coffee, to edge all my goodies. And I have to tell you guys, I am completely besotted with these inks. They work so beautifully. They are creamy and they blend so nicely. So if you've been following me on social media, you will see that I've just been going to town with these inks. In fact, it was on my desk just before I went live. It was still on my desk. So we are going to, and I will do the notes for you guys at a later stage. I will probably add it to the comments or to the description of this video afterwards. Unfortunately, with load shedding, I did not have time to type out the notes, so I'll just add it to the comments. It's not very difficult. It's the dimensions and the measurements are fairly simple. I work in inches, so if you work in centimeters, you're going to have to Google and do the math there. I'm an inch girl because I find that inches are so much easier to use than centimeters because of the increments that you have in inches. And I know a lot of my people say, but we don't use inches in South Africa. Shamela does, because if you look at an inch, it's got 1, 2, 3, these 4/4 inches in an inch. And those longer lines, if you've got a nice ruler, it makes it so much simpler than trying to cut 27.3 millimeters. My eyes are terrible. These millimeter lines, they don't work for me. That's a 1/4 inch, that's a 1/2 inch, that's a 3/4 inch, and that is 1 inch. And in there you will find 1/8 of an inch, 2/8 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch, and 4/8 of an inch. So, you know what? This works for me. I love working in inches, and yeah, give it a try. It's easy. So, our base is a basic 12 by 12 inch cardstock. So that's the one piece. So we use the entire length of the 12-inch piece. And I'm going to cut the one side down to 11 3/4. So we are trimming off just a tiny bit there. And then the other side is a full A4 sheet. So where did I go? One full A4 sheet. Okay, so these are, I mean, you can see, not a lot of work. One snip and we are done. And now we are going to do all the scoring. I'm grabbing my scoreboard here. Okay, for those who have scoreboards and have been using the little plastic bone folder or something like this that you get in your scoreboard, I don't use mine. You know why? The tip becomes blunt. I have a sample here of my one from my score pal. What happens is your tip becomes blunt. It wears away. And eventually I wasn't getting straight lines. So I started using a ball tool, and this little tool works really nice. My friend Jennifer gave me this. This is one of Tim Holt's the ideology range. It's a really heavy thing. It's his remnant rub tool, but it also has a lovely little tip here, and it works beautifully for scoring. And why I like a metal tip is because the ball stays very securely in that line. It does not go skew. It very seldomly goes skew, and it doesn't wear away. So if you, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have those ball tools in your stash. So yeah, give it a try and see if it works for you. So the first piece we are going to score is the 12-inch one, and we need the 12-inch side of the paper to be facing the top of your scoreboard. And if you look at the measurements I've given you, I think this one is slightly out here. Let me measure. Yeah, this A4 was cut by it's out by like a slight margin. I can live with that. So otherwise it will bother me, I know. So with the 12-inch side facing the top of your scoreboard, you are going to score as follows: 1/2 inch, and we're going to do 8.5. I just have to refer to my notes, guys, because I can't remember so well anymore. 8 3/4, 9, 9 1/4, and 9.5. So I'm going to repeat that so you can make a note if you want. So with the 12-inch side facing the top of your scoreboard, you're scoring at 1/2 inch, 8.5, 8 3/4, 9, 9 1/4, and 9.5. Okay, so that is that. And then number 2 piece is our A4. So with the short end, the 8 1/4 piece facing the top of your scoreboard, you are going to score as follows: on 6 inches, 6 1/4, 6.5, 6 3/4, 7, 7 1/4, 7.5, and oops, that's me going skew, and 7 3/4. So basically, on that side you can't see, this is what you have, like an array of score lines every 1/4 inch. Let's read it again: 6, 6 1/4, 6.5, 6 3/4, 7, 7 1/4, 7.5, 7 3/4. Yeah, 7 3/4. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 score lines there. Okay, now what we need to do is to kind of reinforce those score lines, because what the scoring does in this case is it is telling the paper that I want you to be a little bit more pliable. So I'm going to just give it a gentle fold. And if you've never scored and folded before, I know I always repeat myself, but when you are scoring, you have a dented side, which is the actual side that you scored, and then you have a bumpy side. And when you feel it, you run your fingers like this over it, you will feel that there's little bumps there. We always fold towards that bumpy side. The paper just folds a whole lot easier towards that side. Okay, so that one is done. So there we've got the dented side, which is the side that we scored, and we have the bumpy side, and we are folding towards the bumpy side. I forgot to actually find myself on my channel so I can see what's going on and see if there's any comments. My apologies. Oh, hi, Rosemary. Oh, so you don't have load shedding now, do you? Okay, so we've got that. Now, let me get my sample quickly so I can show you. Where did I put it? You know what? This is the, yeah. The weird thing about doing a live is the moment you go live, stuff disappears. So what I did with mine was I rounded the corners here. I just think it looks neater. So what we need to do is to actually round those corners. And this is a really cool punch because it's got 7, 4, and 10 millimeters. If you need smaller and bigger rounds, I'm using the 10 mil one. And I use it upside down. I have to tell you guys, because if I do it the other way, sometimes I don't punch correctly because I don't put the paper in the right way. I put it into little and then I get a skew trim. So I put it in so I can see that I've got it in the right way and it looks neat. Okay, so sometimes if that happens to you, then did I do this on the right side now? Yes. No. No, it's this side. Sorry. It's the short end. This is our closure. There we go. So now let me do, no, that's fine. So on the big 12 by 12, you are scoring on the short side. And on the A4, you're scoring opposite that, you're scoring opposite the, what's the word I'm looking for? The scoring lines. Hey, my brain is stiff today. Right, so we are going to fold over this score line here. And we need to burnish this one. And when I say burnish, I actually mean this, because we want to use this as our hinge. This is going to join our two pieces of card together. So we want it to be nice and pliable and bendy. So that comes on your left side, and this comes, I should have scored here as well. I'm sure I missed a score line. Let me just double check. Yes. Does it go like this? Hey, it goes like this. Okay, so this first score line, on this side, we need to burnish this one really well. The others you do not need to burnish because it just needs to kind of remember where it must go. So let's do that. You know, I made this thing so long ago, trying to go back. If you've done lots of other projects in between, I promise you, it's not easy. Okay. Now this and this is going to join. We need tape only on the one side. So I'm going to put it on this side here. And I use a 10 millimeter tape. I have this, and I only use red tape for construction. For the reason is, you know, the normal double-sided tape I will use for cards and things that does not require longevity. If you want something to have longevity, do not, if you're spending a lot of time and a lot of money on scrapbooking paper, they're not cheap. You know, a lot of my projects have fallen to pieces because I've used normal double-sided tape. I don't anymore. I use the red tape. I invest in the red tape. It has a longer shelf life and works so much better. And so my 10 millimeter tape, and the reason why I have it cut to 10 mil specifically, is because it fits absolutely perfectly within that ½ inch gap. Okay, Normally when I trim, I flip it and I trim on the other side so I can see where the edge of the card is. And the reason for that is you don't want tape overhang. When you have tape overhang, all the dirt and the dust and everything sticks to it, and it just makes your project look a little bit grubby after a while. So with red tape, and especially on this craft card and chipboard, it's very fibrous. And sometimes if you find that your tape is coming off from the actual card when you're trying to remove the backing, it is because you are not burnishing it well enough. And the burnishing helps to secure that tape down onto your card. So with chipboard and this kind of cardstock, always burnish, because it just helps you to take that backing off a whole lot easier. Now I am absolutely famous for sticking skew, more so if I have a camera in the middle of my face. So to help me, because red tape, once it sticks like crazy, and you ruin your project if you actually remove it. So I'm putting a little bit of glue on. That gives me a couple of seconds of leeway to move. And I use Stamperier's craft glue. It is one of the best glues I've come across. It does not warp or wrinkle your paper. It works beautifully. So I highly recommend that. And so we are going to line this up next to that score line. Not on the score line, next to the score line, so that we now have a closure like that. So that is the base of your project. Okay, it's not that hard. I think it's quite easy. Now, there was an inner that I posted, and if I can find it, I can show you quickly. This was the inner, and when I post this video onto YouTube, I'm going to edit it and include that segment in this video, because this is actually a very important part of the project, because this is this little inner here that holds all these things together. Now you can choose to magnetize it and make it a loose thing in your project, or you can choose to add it to the inner like I've done. That's entirely up to you. That's my little elephant. I'll just keep everything together. So that is what I've done here. And I've got the measurements here. Let me just give it to you. There we go. There is a video on the NSD page, but like I said, I will post it on, I'll add the video to this live so that you can see add the link to it, and then you can see how I did this. So the first piece, they all measure 10 inches long, because that's the length, and then you cut 1 5.5, 1 5, and 1 4.5 inches, and you progressively score them with the short end facing the top of your scoreboard. So the big one you score at 1 inch, which is there. Let's flip it. Then this one, which is the next one, you score at 1.5 inches, and the last one you score on 2 inches. And this is where you will, so if you line them up very nicely on that score line, I'm going to clip mine together. You line them up like that. You need to sew on that line. I know lots of people say they don't sew, but that is the best way to secure it. And if you fold it over, you have now created that little waterfall. Okay, so that is how you do that. I will post the link to the video in the description box, and I will also post the measurements in the description box for you, because I couldn't possibly bring my sewing machine onto a YouTube live to do that. Right, so the next piece is we're going to do the center, which is the top and bottom flaps. And for that, we need two pieces that are 7 by 7 inches. Now, the reason why I went with 7 by 7, you can do it 6 by 6 if you want to save on paper, but I went with 7 by 7 because I wanted the size of the little photo mats that's inside to be big enough for us to have at least one standard size photo on there. So remember, photographs are about 6 by 4 inches, and we normally look at a photo mat of 6 1/4 by 4 1/4. I'm just trying to think now, what size paper did I use for that? Okay, I'm going to go with A4s because I think that will work. So let's cut this down. 7 by 7, and I'm going to keep all my offcuts aside. If you've ever watched any of my videos, you know that I keep all my little bits and pieces, because sometimes down the line you want to make a belly band, then you've got a piece. You don't have to cut up a whole other piece. So I keep all my little bits and pieces next to me. So that's 7 by 7. Okay, these will make perfect photo mats if you need them, belly bands, whatever. So we keep them aside. And so that is these are our, let me make notes for you so you can see what it is. Pencil, here we go. So these are our center, top and bottom flaps. So let me just write that down. Center, top and bottom flaps. And they measure 7 by 7 inches. Okay, and then we are going to score them, and I might as well write the scoring lines for you here. Score at 5, 5 1/4, 5 1/2. What is this? 5 5/8. I have no idea why I did it at 5 5/8. We will soon find out. 5 7/8 and 6 1/2. So this is my problem. I write too big. So 6 1/2. Okay. I'm going to put this here so you can make a note if you want to. And then I'm going to grab my scoreboard. And you can score that quickly. So because it's 7 by 7, you don't need to decide which side to score on. Because it's a 7 by 7, it's a square, it doesn't matter. So let's score that at 5, 5 1/4, 5 1/2, 5 5/8. So 5 5/8 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's on that little blue line there. Oh, I see why I did it. I wanted to have more of a movement on the cardstock there. And 5 7/8. So if we count the lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that is the next one there. And 6 1/2. Now your 6 1/2 score here, this is your 1/2 inch. That is the piece where you are actually going to attach it to your base. And so this one is going to require some tape there. Let's do the other one. So it's 5 inches, 5 1/4, 5 1/2, 5 5/8, 5 7/8, and 6 1/2. Okay. And then I'm going to mark this, because maybe what we should do is just do all the cutting. And so this is number 4, my center, top and bottom flaps. And let me put it on a place so I don't lose it. I'm going to put it in my little holder that we gave everyone at NSD. Such a handy thing. Okay, then we've got our inner flaps, which are, so I'm going to show you quickly so we know where we're at and everybody understands. What we have just done now are these two pieces that goes up and down. And if you look here, you can see I've got those score lines in there. Let me lift it. So there are those score lines, and that is to make sure that this thing is pliable. So if you add bulk to it, it's got the movement in there. I hope that makes sense. So what we're going to do now are these little flaps there, those two. So let's do that quickly. And those are, they measure 6 by 4¼ and for that I'm going to use a 12 by 12 sheet, because we all know half of 12 is 6. So let's cut the 6. And the only issue I have with my trimmer is that the 6 3/4 and 6 does not come up there. Otherwise I love this trimmer. So let me just measure it with a ruler. And I'm happy to compromise with that, because this is such an awesome trimmer. So I've got my 6-inch mark there. Okay, and we need it to be 4 1/4. So 4, and the next big line is the 1/4 inch line, so that is where 4 1/4 is. Promise you, once you get used to inches, you will not go back. So we got an offcut going to the side. And eventually, if I have too many offcuts, I just donate it. I've got a lady who teaches children crafts. And so, you know, you get to a point in life where you realize, oh no, I can't hold on to these anymore. I need to pass it on. So I pass it on to somebody who can actually use it. So we've got 4 pieces that are 6 by 4 1/4. And those ones we are going to score. Let me see, on this side. What do I do with my little tool? I normally put it back in. Oh, there we go. So with the 6-inch side facing your scoreboard, if you are finding it difficult to score on the 1/2 inch here, as long as you have a 1/2 inch border, so it's actually a 1/2 inch score, but I find it very hard to score on the left side, so I sometimes just score there. But now if you flip it, you can see that that is on the 1/2 inch line. Does that make sense? I hope I didn't confuse you now. So all 4 of them gets a 1/2 inch score on the 5 1/2 inch side, because it's convenient for me. So let me make a note of this one for you. So we need 4 times 6 inches by, I should have actually made it 6 1/2, but I'm being cheap because I want to use one piece of cardstock. Because if you make it 6 1/2, then you have a perfect 6-inch piece for photos. So I have to crop my photos a little bit to put it there. But that's me. I'm a skinflint. I hate waste. So 6 by 4 1/4. What did I say? 6 by 4 1/4, yes. Okay, and then we score 1/2 inch with the long side facing the top of your scoreboard on all 4s. Okay, there we go. And so this is number, that's number 5. It is the inner flaps. center, top and bottom. And I'm just going to do that. And out come my paper clips. I always work with paper clips, people, just to keep everything together. And I'm going to put it in my little holder there so I know where to find it afterwards. Otherwise, I'm going to lose it. Right. The next one is the inside flap. Now, this is optional. So this is actually number 6. This is an optional piece only if you want to. It is this piece here. You don't need it. I just get carried away when I start making something like this. What happens to me is I kind of start thinking, oh, but I can do that, and oh, but I can do that. So that is where that O came from, and that is this piece that we're going to do. But I think it's really nice because when you open it, you can see the full expanse of this sheet of paper that I used. And so you can appreciate the paper so much more, don't you think? I love doing that. So let's do that piece. And that, I think, let me see, is 8 1/4 by 11 1/4. So I can use an A4. Because that's 8 1/4. All I need to do is to just trim this down a little bit. So that measurement. So this is your inside flap. Oh, my pencil is so blunt. Let me see if I have another one. And I put my little cutie on the pencil so I can find it. Inside flap on the right side. Yes, much better. And this is number 6. And so this measures 8 1/4, which is the width of an A4, by 11 1/4. And we're going to score that at 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch. And I will explain to you why I have a 3/4 inch score there. Okay, so let me just trim this down quickly. So the width is right, the A4 width is right, and I need to trim it to 11 1/4. So sorry, I'm just moving the notes for a second. And it is literally that piece that you're taking off. And that I'm not saving. That I'm throwing out. Okay. And so we are scoring this one on, because remember, this comes into the folio like this. This is the fold. So we need to have the short end against the top of our scoreboard. And we are scoring it at 1/2 inch. And 3/4 inch, which is not the blue line, the little line next to it. So we got a bit of a 1/4 inch gap there. And I'll explain to you why I have that 1/4 inch gap. Is because inside this folio, and I hope I'm not dragging this out by giving you too many explanations, but I think it's important for you to know these things in case you go about and you design your own one at a later stage. Then you have to bear all these things in mind. I have made so many mistakes already in the past because I didn't know that, you know. So I'm just trying to share what I know with you guys. So there's that gap there. There's that 1/4 inch gap. If you look at it, you can see it there. And that allows us to add extra. So if I just fold that like that, you can see that it gives you a little bit of gap in between all this bulk in here. And that is why I add the extra 1/4. Otherwise, what happens is your pages start going like this and you get what they call crocodile mouth syndrome. And we don't want crocodile mouth. We want it to close nicely and everything to be in place. Right. So this is piece number 6. No, not that one. Sorry. It's this one. Piece number 6. I'm just going to leave that on there. I don't need to repeat. Write it again. Right, so the next one, and I apologize, I know I say the word so a lot. The next piece, also optional, is this one here. You can decide whether you want it or not. I think it's really cute because it hides the pocket on the inside, and when you open it, you think, oh wow, there's another pocket. So cool. So this piece is your left flap inner, and on that flap I have added an envelope. It is optional. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. You can use a normal piece, one of these offcuts. In fact, now when I do it, I probably will use one of these so we can use up the excess cardstock. And what I did was I used some of the die cuts here. So those are 2 die cuts from the paper pack, from the range. And you get different sizes, but I chose 2 that were exactly the same size, and I glued them together like this so that you can see that there's like a little flap there. Otherwise, sometimes you don't realize that there's a flap, but the die cuts are so nice and solid that it's not going to wear away if you handle this too much. And that is why I love Stamperia's die cuts. They are firm. Like even on this one here, this is hanging over there, but this is chipboard quality die cut. It's not paper. You can look at it and you can see it's quite solid. So you can get away with something like that where you can actually use that to open and close the folder with. So we need another A4. Let me see where my A4 is on. Okay. So I need another A4 for piece number 7. So this is number 7, and this is 11 by 6 1/4. 11 by 6 1/4. Okay, so this is left side flap, and we're scoring that at 1/2 inch on the short side. Okay, so we need 11, so I'm going to trim this down to 11. I'm going to trim it on this side because that side of the paper doesn't look so nice. No, it's that side that's not nice. I don't like ugly edges. So this is 11 by 6 1/4, and the reason why I made it 6 1/4, I think, is so that it covers that pocket really nicely. Let me just show you. My phone is on charge and I keep knocking this. So when you close it, so I put it next to that last score line there, but when you close it, it covers that pocket on the inside. Okay. Oh, I'm so glad, Tersa. Sorry, I'm so busy. I haven't been checking the comments. I'm such a terrible hostess. Hello, who's it? Azal Swanepoel. Welcome, ladies. I'm so glad you're joining me today because I feel very lonely. I know I wanted to do it at 8 o'clock so everybody would be at home, but I'm not even gonna go to Eskom's issues. We'll forget about Eskom for a while. So this is my 11 by 6 1/4, and so I'm going to score it on 1/2 inch here. Okay, so that is the next flap. So on the 6 1/4 inch side, we're scoring at 1/2 inch. I'm putting everything on a place so I can find it. I'm trying to be organized. So the next thing is our pocket that goes on the inside. And I'm not going to show you again because you know what I'm talking about by now. So the pocket measures 11.5 by 3 3/4. And I think I can get away with an A4. Let's see. 11.5. Yes, because the A4 is 11 3/4. So 11.5, that's a small piece we're taking off, by 3, did I say? 3 3/4. I just want to double check my measurements every time because I really don't want to make a mistake. And there we've got another piece that we're going to put aside for future use. That is the pocket. And now with all pockets, you need to score it on 3 sides because that is how you create the pocket. So what I'm going to do is score 1/2 inch here, flip it, score 1/2 inch there, and I'll write the notes in a moment. Flip it and score 1/2 inch there. So we've got scores on the 2 short sides and on the 1 long side. So let me just make a note of that for you quickly. So this is, I think this is number 8. So left flap pocket, and the measurements are, what did I say? 11.5 by 3 3/4. Did I cut it 3 3/4? I feel like I cut it 3 1/4. No, I did. And then you score 1/2 inch on the 2 short sides and on the 1 long side. Okay, like that. Score, score, score. Right. What's next? Inner piece, the attachment. The inner piece is our attachment that holds your little, see, I must remind myself, what did I do with that now? Let me show you. So when I say inner piece to hold attachment, it is the piece that holds this together, and it's this piece here. So if you look at it, it's there and it goes in there. So I am going to see if I've got an offcut that can actually work for that, because you know what, I don't want to cut up a whole piece of paper for that. Why must I? So let me see what the measurement is. Inner piece is 1.5 by 10 inches. Tell me I have 10 inches. And tell me I have 1.5 here. Then this piece of offcut is perfect. Oh yes. I'm actually just going to leave it at 2 inches. I'm not going to cut it down. It might come back to bite me, but that's okay. Let me see, what's the length? 10 inches. And you know what? I'm actually going to cut it at 9 7/8. So let me show you. That's the 10-inch mark there. So I'm just going to trim it. If we're talking millimeters, maybe like 2 mils shorter than 10 inches. And I'll tell you why. Is because that piece that we have inside there is 10 inches long. Okay, this measures 10 inches, and if I snip it a little bit smaller, then I'm not going to have any overhang here and here if I attach this piece. So just by 1/8 of an inch, nothing more. But that's optional. It's up to you. If you don't want to do it like that, that's also good. So 1/8 of an inch before the 10-inch mark. And I'm leaving this at 2 inches because I think it's fine. So this is your, what did I call it now? So this is my inner attachment. And this will be piece number 9, I think. And my one measures 2 inches by 9 7/8. And we are going to score this on the 1 inch mark. Let me just see, why did I score it on the 1 inch mark? No, I'm going to score on a 1/2 inch because we only need 1/2 inch as our little piece that's going to, I think I'm done cutting, so I'm going to move my trimmer now. Okay, because we only need 1/2 inch to secure this onto our base, and this is the other piece that will hold your attachment. Okay, so let's write that down. There we go. Inner attachment 2 inches by 9 7/8, and the only reason why mine is 2 inches is because I had an offcut. If you've got a smaller offcut, all good, as long as you've got at least a 3/4 inch on the side. So like at least that amount. If you've got 1 inch, it's even better, because that's going to hold that heavy attachment, and so you don't want this to deteriorate. So give it a nice big piece. Okay, right, so there we go. If you cut your paper the way I have, then you should have the same offcuts. Okay, let's grab all the pieces now. Let's grab them all. So I'm going to start with our inner attachment, and so we need to add tape to this. So I'm going to fold it towards the bubble side. I'm using a Teflon bone folder, and I love a Teflon bone folder. I wanted one of these for such a long time. They're not cheap, they are quite expensive. But what's the difference between this and your normal bone folders, like these ones, and the one that I had earlier, like these ones? They're made from plastic. So what they do is when you score a lot onto something, what happens is, or when you burnish something like this, is that it leaves a shiny mark on your paper, and I don't like that shiny mark. So this is how this is going to attach, and I'm going to put my tape on the outer side there. And when I apply long lengths of tape, I use my thumb as a guide to actually help me keep the tape straight. So pull it, use my thumb so that it can actually just keep it in line. I hope that makes sense. Right, so that is our inner attachment. Then let's do the pocket next. So the pocket, we're also going to need to add tape. So we're adding tape to the dented side first. And I do not put tape beyond those 2 lines because this I'm cutting away. So I don't need to waste tape there. I can just add my tape. So before that line, I'm going to add my tape there. Hi, Madeleine. Hello, Thora. Hi, Angelique. Welcome. And I'm cutting that off. Sorry, my scissors is a little bit sticky there. And so I'm just doing that. And on the inside of that line there. Guys, what I forgot to say is there is a prize up for grabs for those people who actually do this project. I'm going to put together a lovely hamper. So do make your project and put it up on the NSD page. I just need to check with Michelle if I must create the album or if she did, but my class is class number 22. Regrettably, it is for South Africans only because the cost of shipping out of our country is ridiculous. Okay, and while I'm here, I'm just burnishing this one. I'm not sure if I burnish this one. Let me do it. Okay, now when I do a pocket, what I do is I cut out this little corner here. So I cut out that corner. And if you're confident enough to just cut straight across the line like that to get that mitre, then by all means. But what I'm a bit scared about is very often I cut and I get a little hole here, and that bugs me big time. So I use that as my guide. Okay, and now remember, dented side, bumpy side. We're going to fold over to the bumpy side. And when you fold it and you see that little piecey there, I don't like that. So that just means that I need to snip a little bit away from that corner. It's barely anything. And you can rather do barely anything than cut a big fat hole in here. So, and there we go. Much better. So let's do this side. And fold it, and that one was cut a whole lot better. So there's no little bits of residue sticking out. And the other thing is, when you do this, like my one is overlapping slightly, and it just adds bulk to your design. So your pocket stands up on the corner. I'm going to trim a piece away, but I'm not going to take anything away there. I'm going to trim it and then just trim like that. So when I fold it, they must be sitting next to each other, okay? So not on top of each other. Try and make them sit next to each other. There we go. That's a whole lot better. Can you see that? So they're sitting next to each other. With the result, what happens is this is nice and flat. There's no bulk there. The same with this side. And I take my time with this because you can so easily cut a big fat hole in the corner there, then you waste the whole piece of card. And then the other thing that you can do is you can mitre that edge there and that edge there. So when it folds and you're actually adding things to your, even if it's a big long pocket or a short pocket, when you're adding, the things don't snag onto that piece of the card there. So I'm just going to reinforce those score lines because you want your pocket to lie nice and flat when you glue it down. Okay. Burnishing is very, very important. I cannot emphasize that enough. Where did I put my, oh, there we go. Left pocket. So we've got that, The inner flaps, they also require tape. So remember, we're putting tape on the dented side on this one as well. And there are 4 of them. So let's put the tape on. I'm sorry you have to watch me put tape on. I'm hoping that you guys are crafting with me. Or are you all watching and doing it after? One. Two. to... Hi, Natalie. Oops, stuck to my scissor. I'm just going to swap my scissor out here. Oh, don't do that. My scissor is sticky. One thing I hate is a sticky scissor. This is an old scissor. It just makes your life very difficult. And I'm going to just get rid of this, because that's just going to be ugly. And we like pretty, we do not like ugly. So you can see I go through a lot of red tape, people. This is my construction tape. And so while I'm busy doing this, I need to obviously ask you guys all really, really nicely, if you have not subscribed, please do subscribe to my channel and click the bell icon, because that is the notification if I go live or if I post a new video. You will be notified that, hello, Shamela's got a new video. Okay, so those are our flaps. Did I keep? Yes, there we go. Let's put the paper clip back. And so this is the center, top and bottom flap. And so this one requires tape on that piece there as well. So all the 1/2 inch gaps is where I always use 1/2 inch as a gap. It just makes it easier for me to remember where my join lines are. So Natalie, I haven't heard from you for ages. Are you well? People, if you have not joined our new Stamperia page, I was very chuffed. Stamperia has actually given us permission to go ahead and create our page as a public page, because I find that there's lots of South Africans who doesn't know about Stamperia apparently, and you guys are missing out. Stamperia has got the most awesome, absolutely fabulous papers, and we order regularly. So I'm just folding on that score line towards the bubble. We order in regularly. If there's anything that you're looking for, please support our Stamperia page. We would really appreciate it. So that is my center flaps, and we did not gently do these ones yet, so let's do that, so that the paper knows it needs to be bendable and pliable towards that side. That one and the other one. And it's a good idea to do this while it's not attached to your album yet, because it's a lot easier to manage and manipulate than if it is attached. So now I have already made one using the Savannah collection, and while I'm standing here, you know, my brain is working overtime. I'm thinking I should actually do one with a different paper collection. Same thing here. So this is going to be attached to our folder, which means that we need tape on that side. So this is piece number 7. It is the left side flap. So I think this is the flap that covers our pocket. And remember, long expanse of tape, use your thumb, guide that tape so that you can keep it straight. And what happens when you do that is, I don't know if you have ever experienced putting a long piece of tape on, and what happens is you get a kind of a buckle. So it's like it shrinks your paper almost. I don't know how to describe it, but if you do you add your tape that way, you don't get that. And that's the last piece, and then we can assemble. That's the exciting part. I always, from personal experience, this tape gets stuck to everything. So when I'm done, I always just flip it with my finger and close that tape, because tell me, have you had, oh shame you at home with the flu. Oh, hope you feel better soon, Natalie. Tell me you've got tape stuck to your paper already. Please tell me. Then I won't feel so lonely, because that's why I do that. I've actually had the tape stick down to my designer paper, and then you must try and get it off without damaging anything. Oh, it's just a nightmare. So, force of habit, flip it back. And you can see I burnish a lot, and that is why I like the Teflon bone folder, because it just helps you burnish things so much better with no shine. Okay, we have got all that done. I do like to edge my papers, so I gotta tell you guys, this coffee color is beautiful. It's a lovely rich dark color, and it matches with so many things. And what I meant to do with my black one was I was going to add some paste, like the gilding paste, to the edge of my black one, which I should have done before today, but I can show you guys how those waxes work. They are so gorgeous. If you don't have any of the Finnabar or iCraft waxes in your stash, it's something. I wish we could get the Stamperia ones here, guys. Somebody sent me some as a gift, and they are amazing. The only problem is with these waxes is they can't fly. So they have to be shipped in wherever they go. And it's so complicated to ship stuff with sea freight. It really is. So I've given up. And we did bring in a few from iCraft, but when this is sold, that will be the end of the waxes. Then we'll only have access to the fin ones, which Trocraft brings into the country. And they are a little bit expensive, but they are amazing. I mean, I love them. But if you're on a budget, then the iCraft ones work equally well. And I still have some available at the moment. And these round blending tools, these ones I got from K-Craft. I think it's the Studio Light ones, but they're really nice. They blend so well. So if you have a store in your area that sells K-Craft products, if you're not in Cape Town, ask them. They are really cool. That's done. We are almost there. 2 more pieces. I'm sorry you have to watch me edge, but craft card is very boring. It does need a bit of something. And you know, Mr. Holtz changed my life when he came out with Distress ink, so we can't go back. We cannot. It's a life-changing thing. Okay, done deal. Oh, we must do the base. We have to. I'm amazed I can actually find the base, people. It didn't get lost. And I'm also going to add some to this. This is therapeutic stuff, this. And I probably talk to myself when I do this. There we go. So now do all of you edge your goodies? Do you? Or am I the only one that likes to edge? And I have to tell you, I noticed when I do classes, a lot of people use those little teardrops. Now let me tell you a story about those teardrop, the Versa Magic. That is actually it is, what do they call it now? I've forgotten the name. Oh, bugger. Let me just see quickly if I have one. It's gone completely out of my head, that food. It's a chalk ink. See, I found one, so now I can know what it is. It's a chalk ink, and what a chalk ink is, it's almost like a pigment ink, so it's got a foam top. And what happens is, when you use that foam top to edge, it deteriorates. I don't know if you've experienced it. It goes into little bits of smithereens. And that is what happens to your daubers as well. But these are replaceable because they are a little bit cheaper than your ink pads. But if you like to do direct to paper, then always look for a dye ink pad, like the Tim Holtz ink pads. If you are into doing this, then look for a dye ink pad, because what the difference is that the dye ink pad has got a linen, cotton kind of a base, and you can rub this up against many things and it's not going to deteriorate like those foamy sponges do. So that's just a tip from me to you. Okay, now we're going to assemble. First and foremost, I'm going to put in my flaps, center, top and bottom, and I will flip this when I do the other side so you can see. And I am going to eyeball the middle. So what I'm doing is, and let me just mark this with some ink so you can see where I'm busy at, so that it's more visible. Right. Just marking the one so you can see what I'm talking about. So this folds over like that, and we are going to attach it to the very top of the centerpiece of this panel, which is your 12-inch piece. Remember, this is the piece 12-inch piece, that's the A4. And I am just eyeballing the gap there and there. You can measure it if you want to, but I'm just gonna eyeball it, and then I literally just, so let me give myself a start here. So I do that and make sure, kind of pinch that thing up there so that this is sticking out and I have access to it. And I'm gonna lean over my camera and see if I am in line there. And if I think I'm in line, I hold that there and just pull. So now we've got that attached. You can burnish it if you want to, just to make sure that it is nicely in place. And so let's flip this so we can do the same on the other side. Now here, I'm going to press this one down because I want them to be in line with each other. It's going to look really crappy if the one, unless you really want it to be, you can have it, but then I would have put the one more to that side and the one more to that side if you want it to be diagonally opposite each other. But in this case, I want mine to be sitting nicely right on top of each other. So let us do that thing again where we pull this out. We pinch that so that it stays up, and I'm going to try and line it up with each other. This is a little bit tricky, people. And I'm leaning over my camera so I can make sure that it is in line with the edge. It looks like it's straight. And we commit. It's still gone a little bit skew, but it's okay. It's not too bad. I can live with it. Okay, so we got that. Then we need to attach our inside flap, the right side. So this is the one that's going to go there. So I have it upside down. Let's put it there. And so let's just open this up and line that up. So what I'm going to do to line this up, let me just fold that backwards so you can see what I'm doing, is I'm going to actually just unfolder. I'm going to reinforce that first score line there. So that's the first score line here. This is the second one. But if you've got this bulking up here, you can't see what you're doing. So I am lining this up. Now, thing is, you want to make sure the top and bottom is center. And we're looking at this score line. So I am putting it next to that score line where I've actually marked it in brown. So we're going next to the score line, checking to see if we've got an even gap top and bottom. Let me do my little thing with the tape again. Okay. So next to our score line. If you put it on top of the score line, then it is not going to fold nicely on that score line. So we do need to make sure that we are next to the score line. I should have inked the whole thing because then I would have seen it so much better. And we also want to make sure that it is even top and bottom. Okay, so I'm checking that margin, I'm checking that margin, the bottom margin, and I'm going to put my finger down on the piece that's off, and we're going to stick. So now we've got that one. I can bring my flappy back. Okay, what's next? We need to insert, so this will go there, and that one, remember, that covers that. And so I'm going to put in my pocket. And now I'll tell you the reason why I made my pocket slightly smaller is because I rounded the edges here. And I didn't still want to round the edges of the pocket. It's just a nightmare. So I'm just going to center it. And if we did it like that, it's absolutely fine, because now we don't need to worry about rounding the corners there. So I'm going to start taking my tape off. Where's my little thingy? Because sometimes I wish we can get these things back in the country again. My friend Debbie gave it to me as a gift and I love it. It's really such a great tool to have. It was from Couture Creations back in the day. But I can't find it anymore. It's not available anywhere. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just loosening the red tape and doing that pinch thing so it sticks out. And we can line it up. So now the pocket goes on the edge of the left hand side, and I'm eyeballing left and right to make sure that we are kind of in the middle. Okay, and so I'm going to pull that out, stick that down, pull that piece out, and pull that piece out. So there's our pocket. Our pocket is in. I've got a small gap there, just to show you. And then this is the next piece that goes in. So this one, and I'm going to, let me ink this score line here because you can't see it very well. That's better. See how cool ink is. There we go. So this pocket, or this flap, apologies, what I want the flap to do is I want it to cover. Okay, so I'm using the edge of the left hand side as my guide. Yeah, I can always add the flap afterwards to this. And so if you look at it, you can see that the gap here is more or less the same. And I forgot to open up it. Right, let's do that again. So we've got that on the edge. Top and bottom is kind of the same. Margin looks okay. And pull and stick. And so now we've got that. I wish we can have craft card stock in South Africa that doesn't have this ugly inside. But it's okay, we're putting paper over it, so it's not so bad. Right, so now remember I had, on my one I had an envelope, but you can add anything. I mean, I've got an offcut here, and so I'm just going to add that. So let's grab the scoreboard again. So you can add an envelope, you can add an extra piece of card, you can do whatever you want to on this piece. Okay, fold towards the bumpy. And now because this paper has got two different colors, I want same. I will not glue this down like this because I don't want two different colors. It's gonna bug me big time. Okay, so I'm putting my tape on the outside edge. And I'll just show you how I put that in, because now it's a little bit more difficult to do that because we've got this thing attached to the main body already. See, flick back the tape. So what I'm going to do is I'm folding that over like this, burnishing it. Okay, so we're making sure like with like, same colors. And so if I fold this over and I line it up, now you can decide. You can put it in the middle, you can put it at the bottom, you can put it anywhere you want to. So I'm just giving myself that start. And I think I'm going to put mine a little bit in the center. And I'm eyeballing the center. I'm not going to measure. Because whoever sees it afterwards, it's going to think, well, that was the plan. And so we just burnish that. And now that flap is in there. And if you wanted to, you can add a magnet here. What I do is, if I'm going to add a magnet, I write the word magnet in there, because 10 times out of 10, if I don't do that, when I'm busy adding pattern paper, I will forget. The other thing you can do on this page here is, if you wanted to add a closure, you can. That's actually a good idea. Let's do that. I think I'll do that. See now, that's how things go when you, well, when I'm busy. I get new ideas and I just go with it. Why not? Because we're going to cover that with paper anyway. And so this will make a really awesome place to put a nice die cut. Give some, oh yay, cool. So I'm just going to use the pencil method and mark off where I want this to end. And I'm going to cut it quickly. I'll cut it off screen. And what I am going to do is, if I can find my corner rounder, yes, here it is. I'm going to round that edge, and I'm going to use the smaller one. And that is why this one, this corner rounder is so cool, because you've got 3 different sizes. And so I didn't ink up the other one now. Silly. I can still do it. Let's just ink this one. Should actually do it before you put it in, but I got excited there for a minute. And I think I can round the corners of this as well. It will look really nice. So we'll go with the big one. Remember, I said I do it upside down so I can see if it's placed correctly. That's for the people who joined us late. If it's placed correctly in the little corner rounder, because if it's not in properly, it will go skew. Let's close up our thing here. Add some tape. Find my scissors. Okay. And that can go there, like so. We can even make it come from the top down. Oh, I think that is really nice too. You see now how the brain works. I think I like it coming from the top or the bottom. What do you guys say? Side, top, or bottom? I don't know. Welcome. It does. The Cricut weeding tool is awesome. That's a good idea. I think I like it somewhere here. We could do one at the top and one at the bottom, but let's not get too adventurous. I'm just gonna do it like that. I think we need to center it right. So there you go. And now that's going to need a magnet. So I'm going to make a note. And I'll write the magnet. Okay, so we've got that, we've got that, we've got this. And now we need to add our little inner flaps, which are these. See how I digressed from my original plan, guys. Sorry about that. But it's boring to do the same thing twice, man. So let's just fold these things and burnish them. Fold towards the bubble. I burnish top and bottom, just so that it lies nice and flat. And if you don't burnish it, you will see the difference. It does not lie nicely in your album. And this is especially important if you're doing waterfalls. You must check out, I did a live with Adonis a couple of weeks ago, and we did a little waterfall album. I think it's, I wonder if it's on my channel. I can't remember now if I posted it. I may have. Just check it out. Okay, so this is, so those are the inner flaps, center, top and bottom. So we're going to put one on the one side and one on the other side. And let me just mark this line here so you can see what I'm using as my guide. There we go. That's the one line, and that's the other line. So what we are trying to achieve is a more or less even border, top and bottom. And if I think I'm okay, I will commit. Oops, sorry, I just hit the, let me get rid of this charger. I'm sure my phone is charged enough now. I just didn't want to get that notification say your battery is low and then the live stops. Okay, now the other thing is, when you're doing this one, we need to do the same thing so that they lie nicely, one on top of the other. The worst thing is if something is skew. So let us just make sure that this is lined up on the side. It's a lot harder to do this when you got the camera or the phone in the middle of your face. Okay, it's a bit too much on the top there. I think that works. So there we go. Top flap done. Let's flip it. And we can do the other one. Oh, let's mark that line again. Eh? It actually makes it easier for me to see as well. I'm due for an eye test. Tell you, I was talking to Belinda yesterday, and she was saying her mother says to her all the time, getting old is not for sissies. Our memories are not the same anymore. We're forgetting stuff. We don't catch on as fast as we used to. So old age is not for sissies, especially when you're a crafter and your eyes start to go. I really did take my eyes for granted growing up, I must say. We don't realize how valuable they are until they don't work so nicely anymore. Number one. Oh, Purita! You confuse me with all your different names, my friend. It's hard to keep up. Thank you for that tip, though. That's a really nice tip. I didn't think of it. Right, let's see. Okay, we are good. In line. Where's my bone folder? Really? See? Ah, there we go. There we go. We found it. So let's just reinforce those folds. Can you see how nicely and nice and flat that one is lying now? So just remember, this burnish part is quite important. So we've got that. And so let us have a look-see at our project. So we've got the cover, That's the flap over. And like I said, at this point you can decide if you're going to put a ribbon closure, you can add your ribbon closure. If you're going to put magnets on yours, add the magnets, do whatever you need to. Or make notes for yourself and say, this is how I'm going to do it. So with this one, you can even just have a nice big paper clip on here that will keep it closed, and you can add an embellishment to that paper clip, which will be really nice. If you watch Karen's posts, she's from the scrapbook. She makes the cutest little things, tiny embellishments from all the offcuts of her papers, and that would be a good idea to use there. And so we've got this, and then let me show you how I put my magnets on. So I've got some magnets here. These are my magnets. They are the thinnest or the flattest magnets I could source in this entire country. So, and they, if you go bigger in size, it becomes fatter. So this is the basic size that I can have. But, whoops, they are super, super strong. So how I do my magnets is the following. I just want a bit of a thicker red tape. I use red tape for it. And let me just find the start. So what I'm going to do is, and if you've got an easier way to do your magnets, by all means, go for it. Whatever works for you. This one works for me. So I want to place my magnet more or less around that line there. And it has to come on the inside. So if I put it there. And these magnets, it's not that black magnets that you can buy anywhere. It's neo something kind of magnets. I don't know what it's called. I can never remember the name. But as long as they work. So this one works on a north pole and a south pole. So I put my one magnet down with my red tape, and then I cover it with the backing of the red tape again, right? And so I will just drop the other one on there, because if you place this one the wrong direction, then they're going to repel each other. Then they will not, they won't stick together. And the next thing I do is I just take my glue and I put a tiny dot of glue on that magnet, and then I close this to see where it needs to go. Now that dot of glue gives me an indication where I need to place the other magnet. And so here goes my red tape. I peel off the backing, and hopefully it will stick, because sometimes when you do a live, stuff that you normally do just doesn't work. And there we go. But now you see, I'm going to have to put one at the bottom as well to keep it together. So let's just do that quickly. See, this is now when you deviate from the plan. Shamela. Now, I want, the magnet is there, so I want this one to cover that magnet. I'm just going to measure and mark off what I need. So I need it to be more or less there, but I need my ½ inch to close up there. So I'm going to just measure that. I'm going to measure it off screen and then I'll explain to you. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Count cuts. Okay. So I've cut it down. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to score it on the ½ inch mark there, because that's my closure. That's where I'm going to attach it. I am going to round the corners as well. And I'm going to put my tape on. Now my brain is working in a different direction. what if I do it like that? Let's see. This is me now. I'm thinking aesthetics. Okay, now I think I'm happy with that. I can put something in the middle. Okay, let's just do the inking. Okay, now we need one more magnet. And the best way to do this one now is to make sure that that one is going to stay there, right? So I'm going to attach this to the bottom first so that this piece is in place. Let me flip the thing quickly so you can see better. Okay, and we're going to have to line that up with our one and make sure that this is aligned with the bottom piece there. Okay. Oh gosh, man, I'm in skew. Okay, now it's okay. It's okay. It's not bad. And so on goes the glue again. And I leave my glue lying because it's nearing the end of the bottle. And I leave it lying flat. I never put it right up because then it takes forever to reach the tip again. So I always leave the glue lying flat. So if you notice that on my desk, it's because the glue has come to an end. And can I see the mark? Let me do it again. I'm talking too much so my glue dried up. Okay. Yes, there it is. So we're adding our tape. Make sure your tape is big enough to cover that that magnetic spot or the mark. And then we're going to close it and hopefully pick up that magnet. Yes, it worked. And cover it with tape. So now we've got a kind of a belly band closure there. And then I've got all these pieces from the paper range, which we can actually use as a little embellishment on there. You can use a die cut embellishment. So let's go back to our page through after we got so rudely sidetracked there. I apologize for that. Right, so first page, we've got our pocket, we've got our little belly band, open and close. Like I said, my original one has got the envelope, which you can actually do. And here, if you wanted to add a little photo mat, you can do so. It will work in there. And then we've got the other side, which flaps open, flaps up and down. And we've got our side flaps. Now, the last thing we need to add is, where is it? Remember our attachment piece. Ah, there it is. This piece, the inner attachment. So this just goes in here. It just goes top and bottom, even Stevens, and that is where your attachment comes in. So I am just going to do my thing where I take out my, so we're gonna go next to that score line, and you can see the score line. Let me just darken that score line again so you can see it. That's why I didn't work in black, because black would have been so hard to see. It's really nice, but it's very difficult to see on camera. So we've got that score line now. So let's see, we're working top and bottom. We're trying to see if the gap there, and here is more or less the same. Next to the score line, not on the score line. Let's go up a bit, I think. I think that is okay. So hold that in place and we commit. And so this one we are going to burnish as well, so that it remains in place. And that is where our little attachment goes in, the one that you have to sew. And over here you can add magnets if you want to. I'll just refresh your memory and show you what I did with my one. And so we've got that flap, we've got that, and we've got that. The only other thing we need to do is, if you are going to be making that elastic closure, let me show you. The elastic that you need is, I don't know what they call this. I bought this many years ago because I thought I might need it at some point. You know how it is? It is, I think they call it parachute elastic or something, but it's, or hat elastic or whatever. But this is what you need. And so let's just go back to our folder here quickly. And so that is the flap. This is my envelope here where we made small change. And this is the actual inner that you need to sew, and I will link the video to that. You see, I used white cotton so I could show you how I sewed it, and I sewed really skew, but I was in a rush. That's my excuse. And so here you can do whatever you want to, but that is where that little closure thing occurs. So I'm just going to show you how I measured these holes in case you want to go and do the elastic route. Yeah, let me do that, and then I will try and photo or video myself while I'm doing the pattern paper, and then I will load it on a separate video and just put it in NSD part 2. So that's your inner attachment. So let's do this. We need to measure the center of this thing, which is 8 inches. And so I'm going to mark where the 4-inch mark is, and then we do the same on the other side. So this is more or less where the 4-inch mark is. So that's top and bottom holes. And then the side holes, what I did was I measured the full length, which was, let's see, 11 3/4. So where's my thumb hole ruler? Oh, damn it, I don't know where I put the thumb hole ruler. That's my centering ruler. Now I'm buggered because that makes my life so much easier. So let's go. 11 3/4 ends there. 11 3/4 ends there. So I'm going to have to count the lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 10 there, right? Half of 11 is 5 1/2, which is there. And then I have to count 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is 5 7/8 is where the middle is. I hope that made sense to you now. So that is, this is the middle of my page. And then I kind of subdivided this 5 7/8. And so let me just see what I measured top and bottom, because this measurements actually work perfectly. And I don't want to deviate from it, and then your one doesn't come out right. So let's just see. 3 1/4 approximately. Okay, let's do that. So from the top down we shall mark 3 1/4, and from the bottom up we shall mark 3 1/4. So we need one hole there, one hole there. And then with my Tim Holtz ruler, it's really easy to find the center because the 0 is there. And so this is 1/2 inch. So the center is 1/4 inch. So that is more or less where we need to make a hole. Oh, and my whole thing is not here. I've got a little Japanese screw punch that makes the holes. Okay, I can't find it, so we're going to have to poke it with a pokey tool. So all you do is, I must have used it somewhere. So we're going to make a hole there. And you can use an awl or anything that you've got handy. So that one is done. Let me flip it so I can show you where this hole needs to go. So that one is done. That one is done. And you need a hole that's bigger than this because the elastic needs to go through and the eyelet needs to go through. So what happens is you need to mark the holes, put your pattern paper down, then mark the holes again through the pattern paper, and then lastly you add those eyelets. But if I can remember how I did my... Oh, 3 minutes time I'm going to lose power. Okay. So, if I can remember how I did my elastic, let me just show you quickly how to run it through. So what I did was, I started at the bottom here. So I just need to make these holes a bit bigger now. So you start from the bottom. Oh man. This is now if your tools are not at hand. Shamela, you're done. Okay. I'm just going to use my scissor to make the holes a bit bigger because traffic is stressing me out now. We're going off in 3 minutes. Let's hope Eskom gives me a reprieve. I have a Japanese tool punch that works so nicely for this, and I think I left it in the kitchen. Okay, so if memory serves me correctly, I started at the bottom and I put it through the first hole like this. No, I lie, apologies. I started at the top. That's when you get old. Start there. Push from the top down, and then it goes from on the right hand side, the first hole comes up. It goes through the next hole in your spine, like that. And so I just need to give myself a little bit more leeway here. So I can pull, and then it comes up from the bottom into here. Obviously your eyelets need to be in first, but I'm just showing you, I'm not going to glue mine down. I'm just showing you how to do it so you can actually do it at home. Right. So let's just leave that and leave that. And I'm just going to close it up so you can see what it looks like on the outside. And so that is what it looks like on the outside. And that piece comes over like that. And that piece comes over like that. I hope that makes sense. I'm rushing now because the power is going off. But this is what it looks like on the other side. Let me just pull that piece in so you can see. Okay, so that is what it looks like. So just remember, you start from the top down, come up under this one, go out through that one and come up from the bottom there. And then once your eyelets are in, so you need to put your pattern paper down first, then your eyelets go on, and you don't close the eyelets yet. Put in the eyelet and you let this come through, and then you punch down the eyelet so that this actually gets stuck into the eyelet. That I learned after the fact, because I actually have this very big bundle of a knot here on my one, and if you want to avoid that knot, then that would be this. You see the eyelet here, so if I had to clamp it underneath the eyelet, then maybe it would have worked better. Try it on a scrappy first and see if it works. But yeah, that is our completed folio assembled. I hope you guys love it, and I hope you're going to try and do it. But let me just come on screen quickly and say goodbye before Iscom ruins the frame. Let's see. Ah, look at my little table. I bought this at, see now I deviate again. At home, they had it on special. It was on sale. But look how cool. Isn't it fabulous? Got all my little goodies in there. And that's a mug holder. Just for those of you, because I like gadgets that make my life easy. So that's a mug holder that you can buy at any cheapy Chinese shop. It's got my tapes on there. Got the red tape on the one, and I got my white tape on the other one. Hi, and that is my contribution to NSD 2023. I hope you guys like it. Like I said, I will try and record myself putting the pattern paper on this one and then give you measurements if you want. But I mean, a lot of you are experienced crafters, and I use the pencil method when I measure my my papers, and I try to make sure that the papers follow on like I did in the first one. So yeah, let me know if you like it. Don't forget, I will check with Michelle if I need to create the album or if she needs to create it. You have the month of March to create a project. Nice hamper from Kanya Crafts. So I hope you guys are going to contribute and share your beautiful folios with us. And yeah, I look forward to seeing how you're going to do your inners, because that is where you can enjoy and have lots of fun. The magnets are 45 Rand for 10 magnets. They're super small and really cool. If you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate. If you've got my number, you can WhatsApp me. If you're friends with me on Facebook, you can Facebook message me. Or if you're on any of the groups that I belong to, or leave a comment in the YouTube channel, and I will come back to you as soon as I get it. And that is it from me, everyone. I know I overstayed my welcome. My apologies. But until next time, see you in cyberspace. Bye now.